Red 2 standing by, all for lit, and in the green, welcome back to Super Mario 64 DS, and I'm looking around for rabbits before I move on to the next area. Now, I know Mario's got a couple in the basement. Probably doesn't sound that right when you say it. But I'm just trying to remember where everything is. I think he's got one in here to chase down in here. Yep, that tells me. Alright, good catch. So, I got the one on the... I got two on the top floor. I've got at least 3 of Mario's. So... I think I know where the rest of Mario's rabbits are. I think there's one in the moat. I think it's in the moat. Yep, so there's one out here. Then the other one is near the waterfall. Watch its movements. Man, this one goes on a big loop. Of course, it doesn't help if you make them run the other way. Oh, that could have worked. It's all down to timing, really. You've got to read their patterns. Hope you're faster than them. And then just count on the janky grab mechanics. So, if I'm right on the locations, we probably should be able to get all of Mario's and all of Wario's. And I've got a couple of Luigi's, but because this has been in between sessions, I'll have to check which ones are which. And that was much easier. So the other 2 are in the basement. Because we no longer get the stars from Mips. I think one of the stars from Mips is effectively replaced by the White Rabbit star. Whoa, didn't quite time it right. Just into full damage mode. But let's move on. Find the door. So yeah, last time I spent a bit of time discussing more fall damage. That's not very smart. I spent a bit of time discussing retro games and how they do deserve a fair bit of praise. I mean, we should acknowledge that they do still have flaws, but they're not all like totally hopeless. Those flaws do exist, but as I said, quite a lot of them are because of the necessities of older games and things like that. And they still wind up playing pretty well. I mean, and newer games have their own set of pitfalls. There's a lot of trouble that can go into making a lot of newer games too. There's so many more things to consider. So many more aspects that have to go just right. It can probably be very infuriating to actually try and get everything just right, all things considered. So, yeah, some things are kind of inexcusable, but then again, everybody's like, well, we got games that were complete. But yeah, that was the thing. If the games were just... You know, some of the games we got were very, very janky and not very well put together. There were quite a lot of aspects about games that just weren't very good. You couldn't fix things. If they were badly made and had a lot of glitches, then that was kind of it. And a whole lot of other things. Like, you just had to live with the interesting bugs and whatever. And there's a fair bit of charm to games having a few bugs and things like that too. If it doesn't utterly break the functionality of the game, which I think was the philosophy the people behind Goat Simulator had, then you can actually wind up with a pretty good experience all told. So yeah, I've decided to use Mario because Luigi just kind of breaks this game. Oh, please, Mario. Stop turning so tightly. There's not quite as much finesse in the control stick. I keep forgetting that. Okay, so we need to run in a bigger circle. There we go. Finally got it. That was not very good. But yeah, like, there are plenty of issues with the way some modern gaming practices go. I will say, though, that I don't mind DLC. But it's got to be sort of something extra, you know? Something that just sort of adds to the whole experience. Like, it shouldn't just be an opportunity to finish off bits of the story. Because I don't think that's a very good approach. It just sort of feels like start it now, finish it later. I don't quite agree with that. Sometimes you can't get everything you wanted to do into the game at the start, so I'm prepared to give some slack in some areas. But like, honestly, there are problems with older games along the way, there are problems with newer games along the way, and I think in the end we should all just make sure to enjoy whatever we like. And be honest about the flaws that our favourite games have. Don't pretend they're perfect, because I don't think anything truly is perfect. But don't rag on other people for their choices too. Just have a bit of common decency. Really, that's pretty much all there is to it. Just be decent to one another. I mean, I'm even going to make an exception if you don't like Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which is my favourite game of all time. I'm going to hold to my principles, and I'm not going to get stuck into anybody who doesn't like it. Oh, not good, not good. Okay, we're slightly more alive, we're more alive. We are a better form of alive now. I am not very good around fire. It's a terrible thing, fire. We should know. I should know. I'm Australian. We have to deal with that every year. It's just... I mean, we shouldn't have to, because some of the fires we've had are just so much worse. And they really shouldn't be. But yeah, we don't actually have very much in the way of lava, which is an interesting point. At least Australia doesn't anymore. We still have earthquakes. They can still pop up every now and then. But for the most part, geologically speaking, Australia is actually very stable. It does have remnants of old volcanoes, but those are pretty much all extinct. Like Mount Franklin near Daylesford is an extinct volcano. And yeah, so you will find a fair bit of volcanic soil. But as a country, because it's not really that close to the edge of a tectonic plate, Australia doesn't actually have a lot troubling it when it comes... Wait, hang on! I just clipped underneath that and didn't get my backside burned. That's something new. But yeah, so we don't really have a lot to worry about with plate tectonics. We don't have volcanic eruptions, and we don't really have to worry about earthquakes. It's actually pretty impressive to note that in some places, Australia's soil is pretty much a fossil. Geologically speaking, the country is so stable, even the soil is effectively a fossil because it has remained unchanged for millions of years. I think there are essentially species of plants up north that have essentially remained unchanged for extremely long periods of time. In terms of evolution, they've pretty much remained unchanged. There are things that are pretty much the plant equivalent of the coelacanth. Australia is just that interesting. So much, like, for a country that is... This place is on fire and full of dangerous animals that will kill you as soon as they look at you. This is a legitimately fascinating country with amazing history available to it. Seriously, it is well worth paying attention to and actually learning about Australian history. There is so much long-running lore from indigenous cultures, and it varies a little bit. It can vary by area as well, and you'll have all sorts of information to find out. You can get so much. You can learn so many things, like even the way the land was used. Like, we all think of fire with the sort of English point of view, let's say. That it's something terrible that should be avoided at all costs because it winds up ruining the landscape. And yet Indigenous Australians were actually able to use fire as just another farming tool, in a sense. It was a means of managing the land and helping certain plants actually wind up spreading their seeds. Quite literally, some plants in Australia actually evolved to use fire to be able to spread their seed pods. It's super impressive. There's a heck of a lot to learn, honestly. And even the way Australia's environment was structured back in those days, it was so different because they had much better knowledge of land than we did. And they knew that the land, they didn't try and manage it like a giant English park or a thick forest. It needed to be different. But it is legitimately impressive to think that fire is essentially just another farming tool in a way, if you know how to use it. I don't necessarily have the first idea off the top of my head, damn you physics, but it's still well worth a look. Now, I might be able to get into the volcano. Will my greed for coins wind up screwing me over? Quite possibly! So there we are, an interesting little discussion on fire. I mean, I am not exactly a fan of hot temperatures. I am also generally not going to be using the fire starter when it comes to Pokemon games, interestingly enough. I think... there has maybe been one occasion where the fire starter has been my favourite. Alright, bring it round. Well, we landed in the volcano eventually. But yeah, so, because my favourite starter in Kanto, probably Bulbasaur. I need Wario for something, but I'm not sure what. Wario's very good for fighting bullies, though, because he'll be able to just punch them out of the way. So he is a good character to have for this level, even if he can't jump very well. So yeah, there's Bulbasaur, then there's Totodile, then kind of a hard pick because I do sort of like all of the Hoenn starters, but my favourite is probably Mudkip. Sinnoh, it probably is Torterra. Probably Torterra, then it's Samurott in Unova. Then, I don't know, I do like Chesnaught, but probably Greninja just wins out, though Chesnaught is pretty good. then without a doubt in Alola it is Litten. Galar, I'm not overly keen on the Galar starters all told. Because I don't know, like Inteleon doesn't... almost doesn't feel like enough of a James Bond reference in a weird way. Because, like, it is meant to be one, but it just doesn't feel enough like one. I'm just sort of weird like that, I guess. Okay, let's grab the star. But yeah, so it's probably Inteleon, but I wasn't that keen on all of them. Wasn't that keen on them all told. So yeah, the only time my favourite starter is the fire type is when it's a cat. Which is pretty telling, because cats are my favourite animals. Well, they probably tie with sharks. I really like sharks because they are the ultimate Bond villain pet. Really? They're like... I mean, it has almost become the ultimate spy movie stereotype. And it came about in Thunderball that the villain owns sharks, and the villain tries to take over the world by stealing nukes and owns sharks. Interestingly enough, it wasn't Blofeld, but Emilio Largo who was the one who had the shark pool. Blofeld has a piranha pool in You Only Live Twice. Blofeld himself doesn't ever own a shark pool, but he is more than happy to wind up killing people who fail it. Can I not actually fly into it? Alright, bring it round. And fail spectacularly. And then dispatch it. And there we go. So, from disaster to triumph, really. So yeah, I do like... I see a white rabbit. So we do have to chase that down. So yeah, I do like cats. I like sharks. I'm admittedly... Got the wrong one. But at least that one's not going to be running around and getting in our way, and they will actually say something. There we go, that's 3 of them. Not too bad. So yeah, I like cats, I like sharks. I'm going to be honest, when they're not trying to drill holes in my head, I do like magpies. They're actually pretty clever birds. They are surprisingly intelligent. Well, I suppose not that surprisingly intelligent. They're very good at remembering faces. And if they do know you well enough, they'll even take food from your hand. Like, Dad's trained to fit. Dad has several that hang around the place, and he's given them all creative little nicknames. There's just generic Bird, which was the first one. Beaky, which I think had a darker beak than the others. There was Circles, because it had a limp and tended to walk in circles. One was named Winston for some reason. There was Gladstone, after the cricketer Gladstone Small, because it had a very stocky build. Gladstone had a sort of rugby player build, so that sort of no neck setup, or at least the neck sort of merging into the shoulders because of that requirement for physical strength. I mean, you have to have pretty good core strength to be a rugby player, because you're often taking some pretty heavy hits. You've got to be able to sort of move really well through similarly strong people. But yeah, we've had a pretty good range of magpies. Like, the ones at Mum and Dad's place have never given me that much grief. Like, they don't necessarily know me that well, but they've been pretty good. So yeah, I do like those, and Australia does have some very interesting wildlife that's not sort of too lethal, which is very nice. Okay, so none there. Let's go. Yeah, the red coins in this, like, why in the blue blazers do they actually have the Bob-omb Buddy telling you where the red coins are? Nice jump. So let me grab that, and away we go. Now, where is he? Somewhere in this level, I don't remember where, off the top of my head, is a Bob-omb Buddy that will tell you the usual Bob-omb Buddy that... Oh, that was unlucky. The usual Bob-omb Buddy that will tell you where your red coins are. They're all there. They're all so close together. Like, that's almost insulting. In fact, it kind of is. Alrighty. Red hot log rolling. So, I'll show you what to do normally first off. Because, of course, you can cheese it. Like I said, it's the beauty of Mario 64. There are often several ways to approach stars. We've covered a lot of topics today. So what you want to do is hop on here, walk right into... and get myself killed, because the camera didn't quite cooperate and I picked the wrong side. Remember, when presented with a 50-50 choice, you have a 90% chance of getting it wrong. Murphy's Law. So, I believe we can get over there with the Koopa Shell. I nearly got sent into the lava by my own momentum. Physics is a dangerous opponent. So, alright. The camera and physics are probably going to be your deadliest enemies. Okay, so now avoiding getting your rump burned, move along to this log. So that sinks. Whoa, so what we have to do is run onto the log and essentially let it move like this, but make sure we're carrying the momentum in order to carry us over here, where we can get the star. So, now, worth noting, the actual out-of-bounds barriers have very different physics to a barrier like this. Now, will this work? No, it didn't. It didn't have any recoil. I'm a little sad because in Mario 64 I might have had enough recoil to wind up going back onto the lava. Oh well. Okay, so maybe those ones can't be shiny again. Okay, inside the volcano. I believe we do need Wario for the last one on account of the fact that we actually need the Koopa Shell. Or, you know, you can just Luigi it. Ah, no! Oh, good. I accidentally triggered the warp that was there. I forgot it wasn't one way, and I nearly got stuck underneath Mr. I. That wouldn't have been good. So, now... Alright, so that wasn't very good. So, this one is a victim of the camera. The fact that you had to work around the camera to try and stick all those jumps just so was, well, it was, I do not blame you for trying to cheese this with Luigi. I would have appreciated it if you'd actually grabbed onto the pole, Mario, but you do you. Maybe I can't actually grab onto the pole if I'm doing a kick. Bright side, you do wind up back down here. You don't have to go through the level again. But yeah, you had to make a very finicky jump onto the pole in the middle of nowhere, and failure usually meant death. As you saw. I'm usually worried about overshooting things, and then I find out that no, actually, I don't have anywhere near enough momentum, which always annoys me. Alright, so this bit. Now, did they remove it? Yes, they did. So there's a 1-up. In the N64 version, there was a sort of turret thingy that was rotating and breathing fire up there. And if you were at the top of the pole, you would get incinerated. It would hit you and you'd just sort of wind up burning your backside off and probably fall down into the lava and die. So that was a bit crap. Well, we got enough time to get the silver stars, I think. Again, it's sort of a reward for listening to me ramble on. Okay, flaming silver stars. For some of it, you can Luigi this. And you can probably get it with some very precise long jumps. And the wing cap. So they're all located on these little islands around the area that would normally require a very well-timed long jump or the Koopa shell to get to. So yeah, the wing cap is just that good, but make sure it doesn't run out. We've also got the P-balloon. Let's head back and stock up on our wings, and I can show you something else. This is not quite wings at the speed of sound, but it does the job. So, let's fly along here for a little bit. If I backflip up here, then I will have just enough height to soar over that fence, and that's another way to get the red hot log rolling star. You see what I mean about how diverse this game's moveset lets you be? It's so creative. You can take things on in so many different ways. Like, you can take this on as Wario, which is, I think, maybe the recommended way because he's got the Koopa shell, but Mario... Well, Yoshi's got his flutter jumps, which is sort of useful. But Mario's got the wing cap and Luigi has his amazing backflip, so almost, in a way, Yoshi is kind of the worst choice if you're doing it just as Yoshi. Stick it there. And that's got it done. So, I'll check for a shiny rabbit among Mario's rabbits. But thank you very much for joining me. Till next time, this is Red 2, returning to base.